Greetings to each one of you present here and all the curious pupils. I heartily welcome you to an insightful session by Sri Laasya Nutheti organized by GDSC VJTI. This is Vaibhavidas from SY Electronics and I'm exhilarated to host this remarkable event. GDSC VJTI intends to build and enhance the development skills and knowledge of students. It's a club where juvenile minds learn and create amazing stuffs together with other inquisitive developers and exhilarate everyone to their core. Despite the pandemic, GDSC VJTI continues to flourish and carry out events. With the efforts of core members and volunteers, GDSC VJTI has effectively arranged Kotlin, Flutter, Dart, cybersecurity, and cloud sessions this year. There are students who want to pursue research internships and master's degree but are unsure how to proceed or what the requirements are. Accordingly, we have arranged a session to get you familiar with the process for research internships and further studies. Thus, with immense pleasure, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Sri Laasya Nutheti ma'am. Sri Laasya is an incoming master's student at Cornell University. She previously interned at prestigious institutes such as the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and IIT Madras. She was a Gre Score scholarship recipient and the previous Google DSC lead on her campus. So, without any further ado, let's get started with a few questions that we got from our students. In case you have any questions for Sri Laasya, then you can ask in the chat and we will take those questions during live question and answer. Ma'am, what is research internship?
Hi Vaibhavi, thank you so much for the introduction. That was very lovely. So what is a research internship? It basically isn't very different when you compare it with normal internships. What do you technically do at an internship? You work on something, right? It could be problem solving. It essentially is problem solving, but a lot of times research internships are not just meant to do one task, right? It could be writing code. It could be where you just brainstorm a few ideas or help in further ways to tackle a problem, or research your way through it. Or it could be conducting experiments. It could be helping people or the professor write paper, or or just research your way through different papers and provide references. And research internships are not just limited to universities or professors in general. They are then there are many research labs at many companies, at many startups, that also offer research internships. So it just depends the kind of work that you might end up doing at different research internships and different research roles. And yeah, it is technically an internship where you get your hands on to do any of these mentioned tasks.
A very informative response and motivating to look forward for research and innovation. Moving on to the next question. Many students have the doubt regarding procedure to apply for research internship. Well, could you please describe the opportunities available?
Sure. So, if you talk about getting a research internship, especially if you talk about universities, you can find most universities have their own summer research programs, right? But they're very extremely competitive and they're very difficult to get in. And then you can talk about summer internship programs, which includes programs like MyTax or your UROP, which is undergraduate research opportunities. That these are a few programs that have tie-ups with a lot of colleges. If you talk about MyTax, it consists of it enables students to gain or get research internships abroad in Canada. And UROP, Europe, is also one of such programs. So you can check those out if you are really interested in applying. These usually open up applications once a year. I mean, I'm aware that MyTax opens up its internship portals and applications once a year. So you can check that out. You can also check out UROP if you wish, to. And that is another way of getting your hands on to apply to abroad internships. But apart from that, you can also go through websites of colleges and find the interested or find the professors that are in your domain, right? And usually they put up openings on their websites. If they have any opening in their respective category, they always make sure to mention it on their website, or a personal home personal web page, or a portfolio that they have, right? It usually gives a lot of information on the kind of people that they're planning to hire, and how many people are they actually planning to hire, and what do they expect from them. And so you can then send cold emails to such professors whom you're really interested in. So for that, you really need to be acquainted with the kind of work that they are involved with initially, and then get to know what kind of research they do and what interests you in that particular domain, or the particular work that the professor has taken up in the past few years, or the current year, or anything like that. And then write to them saying that, hey, I've read your paper, or I've gone through your project, or I've heard that you're working on so and so, and I have also been really interested in working in this domain for the past couple of months or years, and this is what I have with regard to this. These are the kind of projects that I've taken up in this domain, or these are the kind of courses that I took up, and these would really help. And I am looking forward to work with you as a research intern, or so and so. You can always send cold emails to professors asking them about a research intern opportunity, and that always works like a charm. Because for me personally, both of my research internships at MIT and IIT Madras were through cold email, and it always works like a charm. And I have also written a post on LinkedIn about how you can write a cover letter in order to send it abroad to, I mean, send it across um, for professors to take a look. You can have a look at that on my LinkedIn profile. So this is one way, the most efficient way, I would say, of getting a research internship. And sometimes you can also find openings on LinkedIn, right? If it's a research lab at some startup, or in some company, or in general, even if it's a lab in a particular college, you essentially sometimes find such kind of openings on LinkedIn as well, and you can take a look at that. And moving on, you can also network, in events or conferences that you usually end up going to. So there was this KDD conference that I attended. It was a data science conference long ago, after my while I was working at MIT as a research intern. And that's when I came across a particular lab in IIT Madras, which is called the Robert Bosch Center for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence. And I got really interested, and I ended up looking and going through the professors and the kind of work that the lab does. And that's when I wrote to one of the professors working there, and that's how I fetched my internship at IIT Madras. So you can also, use this opportunity to network with people, or professors, or in general PhD students, to get a hold of opportunities that are taking place, or that are ongoing in the lab that you would like to work in. So yeah, these are some of the ways that would really help you fetch an internship.
Right. So, where there's a will, there's a way. A lot of curious minds are inclined to study and expertise the subject of interest. Thank you so much for briefing the application process. The next question for you is, what do people usually look during hiring research interns? What is the importance of LOR in research internship?
Okay, so usually while sending cold emails, you do not need an LOR. I mean, I have never used an LOR to, personally for fetching internships. But if it's a company, or a lab at a company, or sometimes if it's an official application, be it MyTax, or I don't think they even ask for LORs in MyTax. I might be wrong, because I wasn't a MyTax intern, so please check that up. But there might be a few cases where people might ask for LORs, but that's really rare. People do not really ask for LORs at all. I haven't used any LORs to apply to any of the research internship that I was a part of. And the next thing is, what do people look for while hiring interns? I think when you talk about professors strictly, I think they do look for the logic, your ability to build logics, your ability to implement, your basic skill set, in that domain. How well are you, you know, how well do you know about the domain that they're working on? And one disclaimer that is they do not want you to be an expert. Everybody knows you're an undergraduate, just started out exploring technologies, so they definitely wouldn't want you to be an expert in that domain. And 99% of the times it happens that the professors usually work on a very deep technology. If you talk about NLP or ML, they would be working on something that is a very niche application, that is probably very like broadly related to ML, so there might, even if you are well versed with ML algorithms, it might not happen that those are the things that you might end up using in the research internship. But what they would instead look for while they're hiring is, how well are you able to learn and implement things in a faster manner, because, and how well are you good with your logic, because you would have to learn different things in the course of your internship, especially if it's a research internship, because you wouldn't know everything. They are definitely working on something very deep and different and very niche, that is very that there's a very less chance that you already know about. So yeah, don't beat yourself up upon this. Just try reaching out to people with the basic level projects that you've built, or the basic courses that you've taken. Just show that you're really interested and passionate in working in this domain, and what makes you choose this domain. It's just enough if you can do that, and your basic coding and your logic skills, if they're just good enough, I think that's enough if you would want to end up in a computer science based research internship, right? Because and also a lot of times you don't end up writing code in an internship. As I told you, you might have to write papers, you might have to help them with something else. So it also depends on what is the kind of work that you're looking forward to work with that professor. So once you are clear on this, and you have an understanding with the professor as well, and that's when it works. It's just not some might really ask you to be very good with a few things, some do not expect at all. So it's just being there at the right place at the right time. So even if you're not an expert, even if you're a beginner, I would still recommend you to just try your luck by sending cold emails or just reaching out to professors in general, because there are a lot of professors who would want research interns, and it's just a learning curve for students, so even they know that, so you don't have to beat yourself on that.
Well, many of us were not aware about such details regarding research internships. I'm sure young scientists are acknowledged and are inspired. And I'm heading on to the next question. What is the ideal time to apply for research internship and for taking GRE? Also for doing a master's further. Which internship is more beneficial, the corporate one or the research ones?
Okay, so the ideal time to apply for a research internship actually depends on a lot of factors, right? Are you looking for a remote research internship, or are you looking to go on campus, right? If it is on campus, then you might have to, if you're looking for a summer internship, then you might have to apply it around like start from like August or September, or July, August, September, so that you have enough time for your visas and other things if you have to go on campus, right? So that would be like an ideal time frame to apply for the next May. So you will have an entire duration from January to May to figure out your visa and everything else. But if it's a remote internship, I don't think any time matters. You can just apply, because depending on your availability and the professor's availability, so it doesn't really matter. You can do remote internships anytime, depending on how feasible your college is also, to just motivate you to do that. So yeah, I don't think there are any timelines on a remote internship. Talking about GRE, I think so if you're planning to go next year, let's say fall 2023, it's better if you can at least complete your GRE by this May or before that. it is just to stay on the safe side, that you don't have to push things till the end and get panicked. You might end up getting panicked at the last moment, which I did. I did not stick to this timeline, and I ended up giving my GRE and TOEFL at a very last minute. So it's just a lot of stress that you do not want to take. So it is better if you can take it on or before May this year to apply for the next year fall, because the applications might come in around August, September time this year. So yeah, that is like an ideal timeline to take your GRE and stuff. And the next question is, what difference does it make if you do a corporate internship or a research internship in master's? Frankly, there is no difference. It depends on what kind of program that you're looking forward to, and what kind of future prospects that you want to get into. Like if you talk about research roles in companies that you'd want to end up being in, like let's say a machine learning engineer or a data scientist, or if you want to end up working in the R&D departments of companies, then that's when probably having a background of research might help. But again, that's not like a given case that if you have a research background you'll definitely make it. And at the same time, while applying for masters, it doesn't matter if you have a research background at all, because you can do a corporate internship or a corporate job or anything and get a good master's seat equally well. Because all that depends is what kind of program are you applying to. Is it a thesis based program or is it a non thesis based program? And how well can you convince them that, what, this is what I've done in my internship at a company, or in general working for a company, and these are the kind of projects that I've taken up, or these are the kind of features that I've worked on while working here. So I think all of this work experience really adds up to my profile to be the right fit for this particular program. How does your experience enhance and prove that this program is right for you? And that is all that matters. It doesn't matter what you worked on, it just matters how skilled or how that all adds up to apply for your desired program. Sure, I mean, having a little research experience might help if you're strictly looking forward to pursue a PhD or a research role in the future. But also, your future prospects would also come into picture. If you are going to take up an MS in CS, it's not necessary that you have a research experience or a research background or a research paper. So, yeah.
That is truly enlightening, and surely it could help reform our educational system in a better way and provoke the motivation of research among students. I'm handing it over to my co host Fatima.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi,
First of
Fatima.
all, it's a pleasure hosting and interacting with you. I have read a lot about you and it inspired me to the core. And I'm really thrilled to be asking you and interacting with you. So I'll just start with the introduction. My name is Fatima Jadwala, and I'm in the fourth year of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. Along with that, I am a team member also of GDSC VJTI. And ma'am, should we start with the questions now?
Sure, yeah, go ahead. Glad,
Okay,
nice meeting you.
thank you. Okay, so I'll start with the first one. Uh, Ma'am, is it possible if you can give us a roadmap for applying for masters?
Okay, so I think there's not really. So if you're talking about the application process and everything, I can just give you an overview of that. You might have to take GRE and TOEFL or IELTS, depending on what your respective universities and the location of your college and program is. And then you might have to go ahead to the application process and then write a statement of purpose, gather your LORs, which is letter of recommendations, and essentially fill up the application form, pay the application fee, and then submit your application, and then that's when results start rolling out. Prior to all of this, it's better if you go through colleges that you would want to apply to, the kind of programs that you would want to apply to, the kind of programs that you can best convince that this is the right program for me, to yourself and to the committee as well. Because it a lot of times it happens that your background might not essentially fall in place with the program. So then you might have to figure out, you might have to take extra time to put in the effort of figuring out how can you and why do you want to pursue that program, and how can you convince the committee for it, you know. So all of these will take a lot of time, so I would recommend you do that beforehand as well. And talking about in general, you know, profile building and that kind of a roadmap, then I think there's not much that I can share, because it is very specific and personalized. I believe that nobody in their initial years of engineering should start with an aim of pursuing masters, right? I would recommend people to explore different technologies, explore different things, and how everything works out, and you know, get good at one or two technologies, and you know, take up a few internships, be it research or corporate, just to get some hands-on experience and a better understanding of the technology in general, and use all of these, you know, build projects, and you know, also gain some extracurricular activities like your leadership skills or your communication skills. All of these would also add a lot onto your resume or onto your profile in general while applying to masters. So how well can you put all of these together to convince that, you know what, this is the right program for me, and my profile actually falls in place for to pursue this program. So I think there's not essentially a roadmap. It's just how you get things together to at the final years, if you really plan on pursuing a master's, and how can you, what kind of programs do you like, and how can you convince the committee that that is the right program. So I think this is a way to go.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that cleared many doubts of fellow colleagues. Ma'am, so the next question for you is it necessary for us to write a research paper for applying for masters?
No, it depends on so definitely it's not important or essential for you to have a research paper. I mean, it is good if you have a research paper, but again, you know, just for the sake of publishing it, a lot of people end up publishing it at local journals that are not very reputed in local conferences, that at the end of the day will not add much value to your you know, SOP or your profile anyways. So instead of that, if you can gain good research experience, or if you can prove that your work experience or build good projects, all of these might amplify if they're really good, rather than a bad research paper or a good research paper published at a non-reputed or unknown a journal or a conference. And research is just one part of your profile, right? It's not necessary that you have a research background. You can have work experience, you can have next level projects, and you can have good internships at good companies. All of these will definitely add up to your profile. It's not essential that I don't have a research paper. I have never written one, so it essentially doesn't matter. I mean, if you're really interested, you can go for it, but it's not a necessity.
Wow, ma'am, that's such an informative answer about this question. So, ma'am, the next question for you is everyone equates doing a master's to doing research work. How true is it? Can we do masters without having to do research?
Definitely, you can. There are n number of programs that have the non-thesis option. You can also check out a Master of Engineering, right? Usually, MS courses have a lot of might have a lot of thesis-based courses, and might have a lot of research coursework involved. But you can also take a look at engineering courses, which essentially have product or project collaborations. And it also depends on the program. If it's a thesis based program or a non thesis based program, you can just opt for the non thesis based program, or you can just opt for curriculum that has more of project work and implementation rather than research coursework. So it's totally customizable and up to you on what kind of program that you would opt for. So is definitely not essential for you to be a part of research, especially when you don't like it or are not looking for a program that isn't research, right? And also it also depends on what kind of job roles would you aspire at a much later stage. So there are definitely master's programs which do not involve research work. I mean, there might be, but they're very minimal. You can just look for them and choose and apply to those particular programs.
I'm sure everyone will be looking for them after this event. Ma'am, the next question is, can you get a research internship in IT related field if you're not fluent in any programming language?
So it depends, right? You can definitely get a research internship if where you do not have to write code. Maybe it might involve experimenting, conducting experiments, or taking surveys, or doing the research work, or writing a research paper, or just helping the professor with research and other stuff, brainstorming ideas and stuff. But it is always, if you are from a CS background, it always helps if you definitely have good fluency in, even if it's not fluent, even if you're a beginner, or somebody who's good with logic building and implementation. I would recommend you having that if you are looking for a computer science based research internship. You can find many non code based internships, but again, it depends on you if you would want to do that, or if you do not. You can look out for such kind of internships and apply to them, or you can mention that you're looking for these kind of job descriptions or internship descriptions while applying to internships in the first place itself. So
Okay, thank you so much for this answer, ma'am. So, ma'am, is it common to practice and to learn and then apply concepts of machine learning and uh, deep learning during a research internship, or do we need to have expertise in those domains?
I would say it's neither black nor white. Somewhere in the middle. It's good if you know, if you have basic knowledge in these domains while applying to these internships. It could be any domain, right? Even if you're doing a research internship in cybersecurity, it's always good to have some knowledge of their basics. But again, these are very very vast fields, right? So even if you are good with, let's say, a particular topic, let's say you're good with deep learning, it might so happen that a lot of professors might apply deep learning in a variety of ways that you haven't even heard of. So at the end of the day, you will have to learn several lot of things while implementing or working on the respective project or the internship, or in the internship, right? So professors will definitely not look for experts. You cannot be an expert. So it's enough if you have a basic understanding, if you can implement a few models, if you have a couple of projects that prove that, hey, okay, this girl or this guy knows what they are doing, and they're good with logic and implementation, and that's enough. You don't have to be an expert in any of these technologies.
So, ma'am, a lot of people have a typical attitude that we will figure it out if we don't know much about machine learning and deep learning in the industry or academic areas, and then do they apply for these research internships? Do you think it's appropriate?
It's again subjective, right? If you get an internship that uh, even without you knowing the basics, then it um, it might do harm in the long run for you, because you might not contribute well. But again, I've seen people see, internship is basically a very big learning curve, right? At the end of the day, you will have to learn many different things. So I would recommend that you at least get to know a few basics before applying for internships or in general working at internships, and there will be a lot of cases where you have to figure it out. You will have to Google stuff, learn things on the spot and implement. But again, the problem with that is it doesn't happen in a very systematic way. Like, let's say I just started learning machine learning and I ended up rushing into an internship, right? So I don't really know the entire course of the machine learning part, but I just know a couple of basics here and there. So when you start working, you work on the project, you work on what the professor demands you to work on, or you learn stuff that what the project demands you to learn. So if it's an NLP based project, you will end up learning what is important for the project, and so the learning is not systematic. So at the end of the day, when you finish an internship, you would have done something, but at the same time you will not end up having a holistic knowledge on that subject. You cannot go answer questions on NLP. You cannot go answer ML questions because you did a project and you know only about the project and nothing beyond or after that, right? So it's always better if you can learn first in a systematic way and then apply for internships, because even during the process of learning, it's important that you implement and build projects and stuff, right? So that will give you experience, so that will make it much easier for you when you end up working in the internship. So yeah, that is my take on that question.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a deep answer to this question. Ma'am, the last question is, certain roles such as data scientist or machine learning engineer, etc., in bank and other companies require the candidate to have a MS degree. Is it possible to learn master level courses side by side with a bachelor's to get hired in those senior roles? Or if yes, can you refer some universities that provide such courses or opportunities?
There are a lot of courses for people to just get started with these technologies. Any technology these days, it's all available. But the problem is, especially talking about ML and AI and research based roles, be it at R&D departments, or these roles are still not open. At least entry level roles like data engineer or something equivalent to that might be open in a few companies. I've been recently coming across a couple of roles like that. But again, there's a reason why they do not hire freshers for senior roles directly, especially in these technologies, because these technologies are accessible to literally everyone, and you cannot so to handle such large code bases, such large amounts of data, especially in these fields of machine learning and data science, it just cannot they cannot trust a beginner or a fresher when you build models or implement models, right? It might happen in very rare cases, but it's very rare that you find freshers who have the ability and the talent and the expertise to handle uh, large code bases, especially for these roles. So they do not. And even for if you take a data scientist or ML engineer, these are still open to PhD grads and not essentially MS in a lot of places. If you talk about big companies, right? So you can definitely learn these skills these days. Google has released a lot of certifications, and even without an IT degree, you can just take up that course certifications and probably apply for a job in Google. But talking specifically about data scientists and machine learning engineer and these higher level roles, I don't think companies are still open to it. And you can definitely start from the bottom, which is a data engineer, and then work your way up through the ladder. And sometimes it can so happen that you can just take up a job as an SDE or an SWE, and then shift your gears inside internally to work on projects that involve ML or stuff like that, if you cannot find entry level roles in these companies. But it is definitely going to take some experience and time in the corporate ladder to be able to to be able to apply or get into these roles. That is the current situation, at least.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for announce. We will hold a live Q&A session. If you have any questions for Lasya, ma'am, please post them in the chat and we'll answer them right away. So I think there are a couple of them already. So we'll start with some questions.
Yeah, sure.
So, ma'am, the first question is, which domain were your internships in?
Oh, okay. So my first internship was I worked on two projects which involved little bit of computer vision and deep learning, and then the other project was majorly on statistical and predictive analysis, and these were at MIT. And then at IIT, I worked majorly on NLP in my first project, and the second project was on um, time series forecasting and deep learning, LSTM networks and stuff. So yeah, basically data science and ML and AI.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, can you tell us more about your internship at MIT and how to stand out in applications for research internship and what offer opportunities?
So, one trick is to apply to lesser known labs and not mainstream labs like MIT has a CS labs, CSAIL, or computer vision labs, or mainstream labs usually hire usually these colleges have their own students, so they end up working as RAs, and they end up taking these opportunities. So you can just go ahead and look for labs that require ML, that are require or any of your domain that you like, but are in some other department or some other. So one of my like seniors, he worked at Georgia Tech at a transportation lab, which comes under the civil department, but it required computer vision to use LiDAR technology and other stuff like that. So that is where it comes in handy, right? You can look around for professors who are working in CS or computer vision or whatever your domain is, but at a different lab that is not mainstream CS. So that can definitely help you stand out.
I'm pretty sure that the person who asked for this question might have cleared his doubt, his or her doubt. So the other question is, ma'am, can you tell us your GRE score if you don't mind sharing it with us, and how did you study for it?
Okay, so my GRE score was actually pretty low, so do not take me as an inspiration or motivation. My GRE score was 310, and it's because I did not really prepare for it well. I barely prepared for my GRE, and I regret it. It's not something to be proud of. So, but I think you can take up courses. I had a course called in Magoosh, although I didn't use it, but yeah, it's a little bit on the pricier end. But otherwise, you have a book called Kaplan. Let me just look it up so I can share the link or something that I have used. So I'm not an expert with GRE, guys, so please do not take my word for it. But I can just share the book. Oh, sorry, it was Manhattan Prep. That I'll just put it here. Manhattan Prep. I think it's yeah, Manhattan Prep 5 LB. So this is one of the books that I had used to prepare for GRE, and for TOEFL I used the Kaplan TOEFL prep book. It's a very thick book, and you can find the words at the end. TOEFL is pretty easy. You can just Google up stuff on YouTube, and you will find a few templates. You will find tutorials to just nail your TOEFL. So my TOEFL was good. It was 106 out of 120. So that helped, and at least I was lucky this year because not a lot of universities asked for GRE. A lot of universities waived the GRE requirement I think it's because of COVID. I am not sure how this trend is going to be this upcoming year. So it is always to be on a safe. It is better to be on the safer side and prepare well for your GRE and just get it out of your way. Just get a good GRE score. It won't bother you. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the GI score wasn't low at all. Yeah.
No, but Cornell actually did not ask for my GRE score, guys, so it doesn't matter. But I also got an admit from Johns Hopkins University for MS and CS, and that asked for my GRE score. So you never know what the college might notice in your profile to give you an admission. So it's better to be on the safer side. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Matt. So the other question from a student is from a production engineering, and can the student still do research internship in AI or ML?
Definitely. I don't think these days it's limited to anybody who is interested in the domain can just take a few courses, implement a few projects, and just build your skill at least up until the intermediate level, and then start applying. And you'll get to know what kind of domains in research in AI ML would you find interesting, and accordingly you can look for professors who are working in the same domain and talk about what interests you in their profile or their work, and then yeah, ask for an internship. It could also be the case with a lot of startups that are working on these technologies. It's always an open invitation. So yeah, you can any day do an internship.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much for this answer. Ma'am, so the next question is, how did you go to college for masters? Can you share the process in short with us, please?
Okay, so Cornell was actually by fluke. One of my seniors mentioned about this program, so I got lucky there, and then I started exploring this program, and I applied to it. But I think I went through the programs that I wanted to take up, the curriculum, the process involved, and the college it is. And also, there's a website called csrankings.com or .org or something. Just figure it out. csrankings dot something, and it lists the colleges in the order of their research. Their research work that is taking place in that university or the college, and accordingly you can look up for programs that you're interested in. A lot of colleges have programs in MSAI. So my programs varied across various domains and various colleges. So I did not stick to applying to MS and CS. I did apply to a lot of MS and CS programs. I applied to an MS in ML program, which I got into. I applied to two MS in AI programs, and I also applied to MS in computational science and engineering. I applied to MS in information systems. It depends, the curriculum and the program and the in general the structure in the college, culture. All of these add up when you essentially look for programs. So that is how I figured out. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, how should we write Stellar SOP if I want to get into masters in CS in one of the top universities,
Okay,
and
so
the student does not even want to have
I'm sorry, the student. I kind of lost you there.
uh, and the student does not even have any papers published. So how should we go about with it?
No, I don't think publishing any papers. If that's okay, even if you don't have any papers published. And so, how to write a seller SOP? It is always good to have a narrative when you write an SOP, something that really inspired you to take up this program, or something that really inspired you to do a project that is in some way related to the program that you're applying to. Or it's always good to have a story or a narrative before you apply. And accordingly, it also depends on how well do you portray your previous experience or previous work that you've done, and how well can you convince them that this is the line of innovation or line of research, or this is the kind of work that I'm really interested in, and I've proved it in my past. I've done so and so things, so I think this program is the right fit for me because this college and this program and overall seems like a good fit for my interest and the domain that I'm interested in. So yeah, make sure to mention there's a format called as star format, where you would have to list all your while talking about a particular experience, you can definitely mention what kind of I'm not really I don't remember the like I just remember the abbreviation of that star format. You can always check it out online. It's a very common format that people follow on SOPs. You can mention about the work that you did, what was the technology that is involved, and what was the output, and what was the impact that was created with. Did you get did you increase the revenue of a company, or did you efficiently, it could be in terms of accuracy or efficiency, and the result that has all of this eventually resulted. So you can mention all of your experiences that are relevant to the program in this way. And for me, and it's important to customize your SOP depending on the program and the college, because as I said, I applied to several different programs, so I had to customize my experiences, I had to customize my project work that I wanted to mention, and everything else in the SOP to that particular college and to that particular program. So it's important that you do not write one single SOP and then send it across, which might not be good in, I mean, which might not really help. In order to stand out, it's always better to customize your SOP. So these are a few tips for your good SOP.
I'm pretty sure that these tips are going to be really helpful for all of us. So, ma'am, for application of masters, what are the factors considered regarding CGPA, GRE, LOR, and profile? What is the minimum requirement? What is a good GRE score according to you?
uh, Factor, I think it is a holistic thing that people look for. It doesn't matter if your CGPA is low or your GRE score is low. For me, my CGPA and GRE, both of my scores were actually pretty low, because my CGPA was around 7.7 or something by the time I had applied to masters, and my GRE was, as I said, it was 310. But it's just that how could you convince the committee? I will get back to the same statement, because you will have to, at the end of the day, convince the college that why is this program beneficial to you, or why are you the right fit for this program, why do you want to study this, what is that inherent thing that got you interested in the domain or in the program. And it definitely helps if you have a good CGPA. Anything above 8, I think, would do for most colleges. And for GRE, I think 315 is the average score. Usually it's a pretty decent score that you can be happy with, but anything beyond 320 or 320 in general is a very good score. So LORs, I think, again, yeah, LORs play a very, very huge role when you're applying to masters. It even as much as any other scores of yours would matter, LORs definitely play a very huge role. And a lot of times, Indian students end up just writing LORs by themselves, and they will get to know that, you know, you have written. So just make sure you don't make it too obvious or too specific. So yeah, all of LORs will definitely matter a lot. And yeah, I think I've answered the question.
Yeah, you have. So,
I
ma'am,
guess there
the
is
other
some issue.
question.
Fatima, your voice is breaking. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, sure, I can. So, ma'am, the question was, can you share your internship experience with all of us, and what exact work do undergraduates do to assist the experienced professors?
I think I already covered this question where I said the different roles that interns take up while doing a research internship. So yeah, we can move on to the next question.
Okay, ma'am. So the other question is, how did you decide what domain you wanted to intern in? How did you develop enough interest in the domain you want to research about it? Can you please talk about more about the research internships for this session, or the steps or the tips or any process?
Okay, great. So I think I initially started off with web development because I found design to be very interesting. So I started off as a front-end web developer, and then while I was learning back-end web development, which I did not complete by the way, I just got interested in handling data, and I started learning SQL, and that's when I took ended up taking a data science course. This was again after all the exploration that I did. Cryptography, cybersecurity, cloud computing. Cloud computing was essentially my first choice. But then one of my professors told me that the research at my university wasn't really good in the field of cloud computing. So he just asked me to prefer another domain or which they could be really helpful in. So I ended up taking up a data science course, and that's how I landed up with data science and then machine learning and then AI. So it is just constant exploration. I have explored a lot of domains, quite honestly. And then did I come to the conclusion that I really like this. I really like working with this. So that's how I developed my research interest. And can we talk more about research internships, steps or tips or process? I think I did cover this, right? I told you the various ways
Yeah.
you can apply to research internships, just cold mailing and other ways. And the tips could be to look for lesser known labs and or not mainstream labs, not lesser known labs. It's just not mainstream CS labs. Yep, I think that's it for this answer.
Yeah. So, ma'am, how did you go about learning DS and ML on your own before applying for internships?
So I ended up taking a couple of courses, and then I implemented like around 20 basic projects. Like I almost implemented projects on every algorithm that I learned in NLP and data science. Sorry, in machine learning and data science. And then I also took the Andrew Ng course by Andrew Ng, the machine learning course by Andrew Ng. And yeah, and I started implementing a couple of basic projects and also on Kaggle, and then I applied using those to my MIT internship. Yep.
That's such an informative answer, ma'am. Ma'am, there's one question from another student. Many DS and ML engineering roles at Mang and other companies require MS degree. Is there a way to obtain that level and expertise in our undergrad so that we can get hired for those roles?
I think we covered this question, right? This was the exact question that you asked for companies.
Yes,
Is
I
there a
think
Um,
that
difference?
was covered. No, no, this question was already covered.
Great. Okay. So we can move on to the next question.
yeah, yeah, sure. So, ma'am, who chooses the internship project, the candidate or the host institute?
Oh, this is a very interesting question. So sometimes professors do put up problem statements and on their websites, and if you're interested, you can definitely write to them saying that, hey, this problem statement really interests me because I have done so and so work in this domain and with regard to this problem statement. So I'd be really interested to apply to this role on working on this problem statement with you. Or sometimes I think I don't know how my tax in Europe work, but I think sometimes the institutes do list up that this on their official summer program sites that these are the kind of problem statements that we're trying to tackle this year, and these are the problem statements that we're trying to work on. But if you're just cold mailing to the professor, you can just if you have a good idea in your mind, if you let's say you read a research paper, right? You just got an idea on how you could extrapolate that research paper, or in general have an idea for working on or a problem statement for research, you can definitely reach out to professors working in the same domain, saying that, sir, I have this idea and I would want to work on a research project with you. They would be more than interested to definitely help you. And in the case that you do not have any idea, like in my case, I did not. So the professor, I worked under the professor on the idea or the problem statement that he was working on, and I helped him with it. So yeah, it can, it depends. It works both ways. So yeah.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, can you share the kind of projects you built before you applied to MIT? When were you certain that you are ready to apply for research internships?
Okay, so most of my projects were very basic level projects. I've seen many people implementing so many high level projects. So they were pretty easy to medium level projects that I had pretty common ones that you can find on Kaggle and Google and all over the place. And I hadn't built something really like special or anything like that. One project was a Twitter extension. Was a Chrome extension for Twitter that was NLP based. So that I think kind of added up to the MIT thing. But for my IIT Madras uh, internship, kind of my MIT work just added on to the fact. So how? Sorry, where were you certain? I wasn't certain at all. I like postponed, procrastinated applying to research internships with the fear that I might not. They might find me to be very. They might find me to be a beginner or somebody who absolutely has no knowledge about anything. But that's not the case. I think there's no certain stage where you're ready. If you think you have a decent understanding of some concept and you're really interested in working with a professor in some domain that they are working on, if you really find a problem statement that you really find that you are really passionate about, you can always just go ahead and apply to research. You can apply to research internships. It's there's no perfect time. So yeah.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. So, if your internship at MIT was remote one or not, and can the student apply for the remote research internship at MIT?
Yeah, mine was a remote internship. I just sent a cold email to the professor, and I worked with the professor for like over 8 months. And you can definitely reach out to professors at MIT if you feel like they fall in line with your interests or your background or your experience or in general a domain that you like. So yeah, you can always do that.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, can help for internship after engineering degree in computer science?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I couldn't hear you.
I can. Yes, sir. Which Google certificates can help for internship after engineering degree in computer science?
After engineering degree, okay, so there are many certifications that Google has launched. You can just type Google certifications on Google itself, and you will find a website which lists out all the certifications that Google has. I think it's grow.google.com. So you can check that website out for more information about that. It's not essentially after engineering degree, it's also for people who do not have an IT background as well. So you can just find all the details on the website. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, ma'am. So the last question is why there are a lot of research internship in
Um,
field of AL or AI, etc., and less in other fields in like computer networks, distributed computing, cryptography, etc.
There are not less uh, internships in other fields. I just feel like there's a huge hype around AI, ML, and NLP that everybody just wants to be a part and just starts working on them or learning them right away. But I think you would have to explore. There are many professors abroad. Also, because when you talk about distributed computing or cloud computing, not a lot of colleges especially in India, do have the large server base or stuff that is required for, or the resources that is required for other you know fields which require a lot of hardware resources. So you can definitely go check out you can take up online courses and work on a couple of projects, and then it's the same drill. You can look for people or professors in other domains in your I mean in abroad universities, and you can reach out to them. Actually, there's amazing work that is being done in computer networks and distributed computing as well, and cryptography with the blockchain and everything. I think cybersecurity has taken a turn. So you can just find professors that fit your interests and are right for your domain, and you can just send a request. So yeah, there's nothing like lesser opportunities in the fields of these things. Probably companies